Hey there, Tubanites. It's your friendly neighborhood flash in the pan. Today we're going to take a little break from kind of gun-related content. We're going to shift towards a more, I don't want to say prepper thing, but it kind of is. As I've mentioned before, I live in North Texas. So we do, while it is Texas and obviously it gets warm here, the winters are also, or can be, somewhat disastrous, especially mostly because the state's not really prepared for it. It's not really built for weather like that. So a couple years back, I still call it the snowpocalypse. So it was 2022, January, February, we had just a hellacious snow and ice storm run through Texas that really affected our capability to produce power for the state, and we were very, very close to losing our entire grid. I think the word was we were about 9 minutes away from shutting down the whole Texas grid, not being able to come back up for a couple of weeks. So after that, I had already had it in my mind to get myself a generator just in case, because it is Texas and we have all kinds of weather. We have tornadoes. We're even affected sometimes by the hurricanes down by Houston. And then, of course, the snow and ice that we got that year. We usually get a little bit every year, but not quite like that year was. So I shopped around. I usually look for like best for price. I'm not afraid to pay for quality. However, I feel like sometimes you're paying just for a name. And so I did a lot of research on the onlines. And as you'll see by the title of this video, I'm sure it'll be something along the lines of the name of the generator, name and type that I bought. So I got a Westinghouse 9500 running 12.5 peak on gasoline. It's a dual fuel. A lot of the information that I read kind of went back and forth between that one and the what's the Amazon brand? Crap, hold on, let me look it up. It was the Duramax. It's I don't know if it's an Amazon brand, but I know it is on Amazon. So anyways, most of the studies or comparisons that I saw put those two pretty close to each other. One was more affordable. I think the Duramax was a little bit cheaper, but it was also supposedly louder than the Westinghouse. Westinghouse was a little more expensive, but quieter. I opted for the Westinghouse. It's an old name. As I've shared before, I work in the electronics industry to a degree, so Westinghouse is known to me. It's a very old brand, as some of you may know. Usually a very reliable brand, and so far with my generator, it's been just as reliable. There's a bunch of instructions and stuff that come with it to follow as far as braking period and how to load it and blah 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 blah. There are more proper ways to hook this up to your house. I am not doing any of those, and I really don't care to hear about it in the comments. You can do it however you want to. I'm going to do it my way, and we'll just go our separate ways and be happy. So what I'm going to do, my house, I have a relatively average size house in North Texas. I only have a 2.5 ton AC on my house, which is it's actually kind of undersized for my house. The last couple years, it's been warmer summers, so I've actually added a window unit as well. So I also have a 5,000 BTU window unit, so that kind of brings us up to a 3 ton combined, if you will. But I am able to run all of that on this generator. Wintertime, I can run my heater off of it. So it's kind of the perfect size for me. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get this all wheeled out. I'm looking over there because it's right over there. I'm going to get it all brought out. It's kind of a rainy day, so I'll have to kind of leave it in the garage a smidge, but we'll point the exhaust outside, no big deal. I'll get it hooked up, I will get it started, and we'll turn on the air conditioner because it's still a little warm. And we'll show you how she runs. Give me a sec. Alright, so this is my setup. As you can see, I've got my power cord running over to my breaker panel to the right there. This is a pretty cool setup. So you have the option to pull start this over here on the side, right over here. I did have to do that the first time I think I started it because of course it was fresh out of the box, but it does have a starter as well. Here you can see where you select your dual fuel option, so you can run this off regular gasoline or you can run off of propane. I have not run it off of propane. I probably should try that at some point just to know that I can, but Your main breaker here, you have various plugs. You have 4 regular kind of house plugs. You have a 30 amp plug, and then I use the 50 amp because this one is capable of producing around 38, 39 amps. So of course I'm going to use over what I actually need. But all you got to do, reach around the side here, turn your gasoline on, flip your little on switch here, and then you push the start button. So I'm going to go ahead and start it just so you can see it happen, but I'm not going to sit here and let you get drowned out because you're not going to be able to hear me. It's pretty loud. So here we go. Hopefully you can hear me okay. So what I normally do is I let it warm up for about 5 minutes. I go ahead and I shut off the main disconnect from my panel, and then I close the breaker for the outlet that I back feed it through, and then I'll go ahead and show you how we run the ACs and the rest of the house off. It's pretty simple. Hopefully you can hear me. Sorry if you can't. All right, as you can see, we are currently running on right there. Generator, running the air conditioner on generator, and then we'll run over here, living room. Let's see, we also have a window unit running. Go back out here to the mess of a garage, and I'll show you quickly. So there's going to be a bunch of naysayers, and I don't really care, but this is my setup, so I'm not going to be able to talk over this, but you'll just have to see. Alright, so you saw kind of how I had that set up. Typically, the last weekend of every month, I run it for about an hour. As you saw there, I was flipping through the menus. There's voltage, output, frequency, total hours running time, and then current run time. So that the quad 0, that was like, I just started it, so that's your this runtime counter. So as you saw, I have about 45 hours by the end of this. I have 46, 47. I didn't look to see before I turned it off. I usually run the whole house on it while I'm, you should run it under load. You can just run it, but it's not as good for them. It's really better to run them in, the conditions that they're going to work in. Since Snowpocalypse, I've used this in an actual emergency situation, if you want to call it that. It wasn't really an emergency. We lost power for about 3 hours, maybe like a year ago, year and a half. It was a bad rainstorm. We didn't necessarily have to have it, but it was still pretty warm out, and it kept the house nice and cool. We were able to just, I think I laid back in the bedroom and watched a movie or something like that while it was going on. All the neighbors were complaining about how hot it was in their houses, and we were nice and cool in our air-conditioned house. So I think it's one of those things. I don't think it's a necessity. Like if you live in a place where you lose power frequently, it's not a bad idea. Actually, in this location, it was just that 3 hours was the only time I remember losing power. Even during Snowpocalypse, we didn't lose any power where I'm at. Now I'm lucky enough to be close to a water pump station and right down the road from a fire station. So I think that our grid area itself was kept on like high priority for those two reasons. So we lucked out there. That doesn't mean emergencies can't happen. Anything can happen at any given time. Being prepared for something like that is not a bad idea. If you don't believe me, ask about the Northwestern North Carolinians and see what they think about being prepared for situations that you can't predict. It's it's a little out there because that's kind of a once in a lifetime event that's not likely to happen again. But you just never know when it's going to be you. Those particular units, the Westinghouse is there. I've got no complaints at all. That thing's outstanding. It's done everything I've needed it to. Like I said, I run it once a month. You change oil, I think every 25 hours. They say I usually do it about every 20 hours. When I bought it, it was just at $1,000. I thought about going the next size up, which was the 15 kW peak, I think. But once you get above this particular unit, the price really goes up. Excuse me, I'm trying to shoot a video here. Dogs. Once you get above that 9500 running 12.5 peak, so you get to above that, then the price really starts to increase because this is the last size, if I remember, of the single cylinder. Then it goes to a twin cylinder and the price goes up exponentially. Depending on the size of your house, you can or cannot run this. I know a guy I work with, actually the fellow who was in the one video where we were out shooting in kind of a field, Jason, the bearded fella. I know he runs his house on the same unit, but he has a bigger air conditioner unit, so he bought a soft start for the air conditioning unit, put that in himself, and then was able to run his whole house with no problems. So this is a very capable unit. It's very reliable so far. The fella I work with has the same exact unit. He runs his house on it. He has a bigger AC unit, but has not put the soft start on it yet, so he cannot run his air conditioning on it. But outside of that, everything is fine. I got mine off of Amazon. It was a very good price. They delivered it right to my door. Of course, I had to take half a day off of work because that's not something I want to leave laying in the driveway for that kind of price. But it's one of those things that you should consider having, in your repertoire as far as being able to take care of yourself. Something to, just in case, man, like fire extinguishers and firearms and a generator, plenty of water, plenty of food, blah, blah, blah. Just in case, man. It's not ridiculously expensive to get into. You can go even more minimal than that, where if you just want to run your fridge and freezers and stuff like that, you can get away with a much smaller unit. Play with the wattage, the current. So as I said earlier in the video, this one puts out I think it's just under 39. I think it's like 38.5 amps, and that's 240 volts, right? So it actually will discharge two phases, and most residential panels are two-phase power, so an A and a B power, and it's just 240 volt split in two, 120 volt. I feed it back feed it through, the previous owners of this house had a Tesla, so they had a Tesla charging station in this garage, which was very beneficial because they have a 240 wall plug there that I back feed into my breaker panel and use that as the supply for my whole house. If you're smart about how you load this down, you can get away with quite a bit. Like I said earlier, I have a 2.5 ton unit, which is actually pretty small for this house, but I get away with starting that unit, and then I have a wall unit, window unit that is another half ton that I've run numerous times. I did that today while we were running, as you saw earlier in the video. This unit's very capable. I just bought, they were on sale. I bought another of the same window unit air conditioner, and I don't see any reason why come next summer I won't be able to run that same window unit on this air conditioner as long as you load them up correctly. You don't, this may be obvious for some of you, but for those of you that aren't, you just load it, you get your heaviest load on it first, and then you stack on the smaller stuff. So in this case, I put my main house, my central air on, then I would put one window unit, and then go to do the other window unit. The only problem that you're gonna have is you have to make sure that you're balancing the phases as much as you can. So in this case, if the existing window unit is on A phase, for example, I want to try and find a outlet for my other window unit that's on the B phase. That way it's a nice balanced load. If you overload one side, it's going to trip your breaker. Either the main breaker panel or the generator itself, its breaker. So it's just one of those things you have to kind of play with. Eventually, there's going to be naysayers, I'm sure, in the comments, and I don't really care. It's my house. I can do what I want. So if you have opinions, please, by all means, keep them to yourself. I will eventually get this done more professionally, where it's not just backfeeding through a wall plug. Right now, it's not really a priority for me because this works fine as it is. I'm not putting anybody in any danger if the power goes out, that kind of thing. So I just don't want to hear it. Don't care. Put aside a little money, a little bit of time. It's not a bad option to have just in case something goes wrong. This got a little long-winded. I apologize for that. Hopefully, back to your regular gun content soon. I really appreciate you guys watching. Feel free to like, subscribe, put a comment down below. Be nice about it, please. And hopefully we'll get to the range soon. My son is in marching band, so that really takes up a lot of time. So hopefully now that season's kind of coming to an end, we will be able to get back to the range and shoot a couple of these guns that we have that have not been shot yet. I really appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you on the next one.